Hey, and welcome back. This is Career Solutions. Today we're going to talk about building this report. This is a student summary report for a college. This was requested by one of my clients that we actually built this for. Just a very simple, easy solution to allow him to sit with individuals and talk about their information without having to manually type out or copy information from other data sources to allow him to work with his students. So we're going to move that over and we're just going to go ahead and get started. First thing is I would recommend kind of having a template for how you provide your solutions or how you build things. I traditionally like to use named ranges, tables. It helps keep track of entities, and it's also a lot easier to understand when you are referencing formulas. There's a big difference between referencing this and it says B9, middle initial, but you could go to B9 and you could actually type middle or whatever, come back here, and then put in middle, and it's going to equal the same thing. Obviously, I didn't do that on middle. I did that on student ID. And then even when you click on the actual item, it says middle up here in the top left. So you don't actually have to deal with going to name manager, setting the name, things like that. You can just go here. And then when you reference back and you actually look at this formula, you'll say equals middle. I mean, it should say middle initial, but I went a little bit quick for that, which equals name, obviously. So we would just update this, and then now you get that. So you can kind of see how once you start getting large solutions or a lot of formulas that are complex, this will drastically help you in understanding what the formula is doing at the point in which you're looking. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and work with those. So let's get started. First thing we need is we need a way to dynamically update the student's information that we are viewing. I've already created a data set of just kind of dummy data that we're going to use, but we haven't set anything yet. So let's go ahead and set the name for the table. That looks like I have actually. It's called student data. You can go to the design tab, top left, table name, and just set the name. Otherwise it'll be called table or table 1, something like that. Now you could use the NFLP number as a unique identifier, but just for the sake of this video, we're just going to go ahead and build a helper column right here in the far left column. We are going to be using VLOOKUPs, so it'll be easier just to stick that in the left column, call it helper, whatever you'd like. Now all we're doing is we're concatenating. So you can concatenate two ways. So if you'd like, we can go ahead and just delete that, and you can do a concat, and you can say this with this, and you get John Smith, but there is no space. So if you wanted to add a space, you could just do this, and then now we have a space. You could also do concatenate, which is a deprecated version of concat, and also a version of concatenate that you would need to use if you're using Microsoft Office 2007 and earlier, or Mac. Concat will not work on Mac. Concatenate will, however, work on Mac. So this is the exact same thing, only difference is concatenate, you can concat multiple values, or you could do a single value. Concat requires a minimum of 2 values. So we're just going to do that, and then same thing, and then B2, 3, and then enter. And then there you go, Jason Bourne. And then the last example for concat, I tend to use this one a little bit more traditionally just because it's a little bit easier to read in more complex formulas. And all that is going to be is we're just going to do that. Ampersand, space, ampersand, and then whatever else you want to concat. So there you go. So that's typically how I like to do it. And we're just going to go ahead and leave that as is. So this is going to be used, so whenever a new student data information needs to get put in, then you're just going to put in that user's data, and it's going to go test user, boom. Now we have to actually build the list. We could have the list off of here if we wanted to, but I like to keep everything organized and sequential, so we're going to do it on the calc sheet. So basically the select student data, all this is going to be is this is just going to be a reference to our helper column here, which we actually have a table name for, so it's going to automatically put that in, student data at helper. And our table is, we're going up to row 60, so all we would do here is just copy it down to row 60. And there you go. So we have test user, and then what we could do is we could say we have another new user, and boom, there we go. New user pops up. Now, the last thing you need to do is you need to actually make it into a named range so that it is accessible for data validation. So we're going to go ahead and come down here, select down to row 60, go to actually right here, and you would just call it student list. Let's just call it that. Okay. Don't need to do anything else crazy for that. So let's go back to our student summary page. This is where our user or whoever we're providing the solution to is going to actually select it. So select student, go to your data tab, data validation, and then you're going to select list, and we are going to put in student list. And then now you can see we have users. Yay! So we'll select John Smith. Boom. Okay. So now we can see that we have John Smith, right? And we want to get John Smith's information, which is here in the Your Info tab with our student data. So here's John Smith. We want to retrieve all of this data. So what are we going to do? So if we're using VLOOKUP, VLOOKUP is always, it will look for the value for this leftmost column. So we're going to do VLOOKUP, look up data. We want to, now we're not actually going to do that. We're going to call it selected student. And then the table array, we haven't actually named that yet, so that's why it's still showing up as black. This is going to be student data. That's the table in which that we want to actually look at. And for last name, we're going to return column 2. And we want an exact match. So you could use false or 0, and that will yield you the exact same thing. Now we're still getting that because we haven't named this. Selected student. Boom. There we go. Last name is Smith. Last name Smith. There we go. Now what you could do is you could just drag this down. Except you've got some merge cells. So we'll just unmerge those and then we'll drag them down. Now obviously that's not going to work, but all you're going to do is you're going to come down here and you're going to update this number to whatever row number you're actually looking for. So right now all we're doing is we're just going down the list and we're putting this in. So I'm going to go ahead and finish filling this out real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. As you can see, we've got everything looking pretty good now. So if we go up here, we can go to our drop down and we change it to Jason Bourne. You'll see that the information changes to his specific information. We can also change it to someone special, and you'll see that that information changes again. This is all based off of the information you put in here. Now, if you go to test user, you'll see nothing shows up. The only thing that we actually see is the first name and the last name, and that's because we have not put in anything here at all. We could do student ID 4444444. Sure, great. And now you can see that that actually shows up in the student ID field. So that's really how you're going to set this up. Now, if you remember kind of the brief moment that I showed you, there were some headers in these areas here. Like right here, it said student summary report, personal information. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you how to create that real quick, and then we're basically done. Okay, so now all that's left is the formatting for the section headers. So we're going to go to the Insert tab. We're going to create an insert text box, and let's just go ahead and do it right here. There's two ways to do this. You could do it static or you could do it dynamically. I'm going to show you the dynamic way. So over here was summer of 2017. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and type it. And then let's do some formatting. So let's do some shape effects. We'll add a shadow. Let's do that. Let's increase the boldness a little bit. Maybe use Arial, increase the font size. Sure. And then let's maybe change the color. Let's make it match the other stuff here, and we'll add in an outline. Not for the shape though. We want a text outline. There we go. That does not look good at all, but we're going to work with it, okay? So there you go. Now, summer 2017. Well, what happens when it's 18 now? Well, you're gonna have to go back into this. You're gonna have to do that. And then every one of these items that you have these headers for, you are going to, because you're gonna have a header here, you're gonna have a header here. So you're gonna have to change that manually, and that kind of sucks, honestly. So what we've done here on the calc sheet is we've actually created our seasons, the selected year. This is special circumstances, so you don't need to worry about that. So all we need to do here is do a concatenation. So we're gonna do spring, ampersand, space, ampersand, and then the year that's selected. So there we go, spring 2017. Drag that down, you've got the rest. Now if we change this, spring 2018, 2020, perfect, right? Now again, if you look here, you can see spring. I've already named them, so we've got spring, fall, summer, winter. So let's go back to our student summary page. Let's go here. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's go up to our formula bar, hit equals, and let's just type in summer. Oh man, look at that. Boom, summer 2020. Done. Okay, so let's just make that a little bit bigger. I would do that first before doing the formatting, because the actual formatting goes away, if you can't tell. So now I'm not going to reapply the formatting because I've already shown you that, but summer 2020, if you go back to your calc sheet, let's change this back to 2017. You'll see now that it automatically updates to summer 2017. You could do that with shapes, you could do that with text, you can do that with all sorts of things. So that is pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.